Podcast action.
Okay.
You
We are
know,
live, bro.
we live.
We live, man. So, yeah, last time we talked, you said you were getting ready. So, how's it going?
It's a bit of a challenge. It's when you're getting ready for a competition, um, it encompasses all aspects of your life. The biggest thing I struggle with is food. So, trying to stick to the diet, is one of the biggest challenges. Every time I've competed, the diet has just always been like, ah. So,
So, what
kind
are
of
you
been,
eating? Chicken breast, white rice, broccoli, stuff like that?
yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
How
You
many
know,
times you eating?
well, I should be eating like 6 meals a day, but I've been struggling to get four because
Yeah.
for the last like I would say 3 years, I've been so used to fasting in the morning and not eating breakfast. So, um, if I indulge the night before, I'll be like, okay, I'll skip breakfast and I won't eat till like 1 o'clock. You know,
Okay.
but, but then I'm not getting all my meals in. So, it's just one of those things. It's part of the journey. So, but
Yeah.
I've been. I think the main thing is just consistency. If you can stay consistent in your training and getting your workouts in, everything kind of falls together.
Okay.
So, that's pretty much. This week's been good. I've been pretty much in the gym every day. Right now, I'm on the bike right now doing my evening cardio session.
Uh
And,
huh.
it is what
Look,
it is.
everybody, he's making me look bad. Look at this shit.
I'm looking a little swole, man.
Hey,
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 look, bro. Yo, look, no shade. I've been getting on my shit too. You inspired me a little bit. I
hey,
mean,
that's good.
this week, every day, no fast food, none of that shit. Just trying to stay the course and be
Hmm.
consistent, like you say.
Yeah, just stay consistent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
and go
that's the
ahead.
biggest thing for me because I'm what you call like one of a perpetual yo-yo kind of guy. Like, there's been
Me too.
periods in my life where I gain weight and lose weight, and then I gain back double, and it's
Yeah,
just
I am in the exact same boat.
yeah,
And I've been at two extremes. I've been, shredded beyond belief when I
mm,
was competing, and then I've let myself go. I think I almost touched 400 pounds.
yeah,
That was a problem.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I've never let myself get that big, but even like, uh, what was it? I stopped because last year all I did was run. I did a
yeah.
lot of running last year. Um, so then I stopped running December. Well, yeah, right to the so this January I stopped running,
Okay,
and January, February, March, the weight just creeped back in.
it
Just
sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
yeah. Before I knew it, I'm up 30 pounds. It's just like that. Yeah,
Ugh.
it's
Yeah, I
crazy,
know the feeling, bro. You look at a slice of pizza and it's over.
right? See, but the thing is, last year I could eat whatever the heck I want because
Yeah.
I was running. I was averaging about 3 to 6K a day on
Okay.
my good old treadmill right here.
Okay. Are you on the Pelly right now? Is that a Peloton?
Yeah, no, man. I ain't got that kind of cash, man. I'm I'm on the Costco brand
Uh huh.
spin bike.
Oh, see, you had me fooled. I thought you were a city boy, bro.
No,
Last
no.
time we talked, you were, spitting all that knowledge for the youngins.
Am I a city guy? You know what? Um, I don't know. I guess I kind of grew up in the city, but I mean,
Did you grow up in Toronto?
I grew up in Brampton,
Brampton.
so
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think Brampton really counts. Like, but I mean, I've worked in Toronto
Yeah.
since 2006 all the way up to 2017, and
Hmm.
now I work in Brampton. So
Okay.
you um, and then at one point I was like, yeah, every day I was downtown, I was in the city. So
Okay.
you um, but yeah, so this treadmill, well, this is I'm on my spin bike right now to do this, and uh, well, I got after it this morning. Went to hit the gym this morning, hit that stair climber.
Okay.
You know, so just slow. When you're trying to burn body fat, it's not about well. There's two schools of thought here. Old school mentality is you just want to do nice, low impact cardio, like
Mm,
walking or on a bike, spin bike. But now the new generation or um, takes that and basically says, no, you should do what's called
mm-hmm.
intense, high interval intensity training, hit training.
Okay.
I don't know if I got the acronym right, but anyhow. So, and I think there is definitely a place for both
Hmm.
those things. Especially if you're trying to be someone you want to be functional,
Right.
and you don't have a lot of time. Well, you could accomplish a lot in half an hour,
Hmm.
right? And just how much how much pain are you, or how uncomfortable are you willing to be in that half an hour, right?
Yeah, of course.
Whereas with this cardio here, it's pretty comfortable. I'm doing it at a pace where I can have a conversation,
Yep.
and this too is effective at burning body fat,
Hmm.
but it's just going to take a lot longer, right?
Okay.
So, eh,
So do you see yourself on schedule to meet your contest date?
I don't know. They're never really on schedule.
No. Okay.
Well, in my experience, I've never really been on schedule, but I I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've been blessed with very good genetics. So I've been able to get away with a lot that other people who compete have to try a lot harder than I do.
Okay.
I put it that way.
Okay.
So, um, and that's that. So, am I on schedule? Probably not. Is it going to matter? We'll see.
Well, I mean, it's worth a try, bro. I mean, shit, I give you all the credit in the world, bro. Like, it takes some balls to get back into it at your age.
Right? Turning
Yeah.
40, got two kids.
Yeah, man.
But it's a challenge. It really is a challenge, and I think I want my kids to see their dad, because they just see the pictures, but they actually see it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. And see that, once they put their mind to something, that anything can be achieved and things
right.
like that.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I think that's the way I am with this. It may not go anywhere, bro, but at least I want to try and give it an attempt. And if it fails, it fails. But it's better than me sitting around and saying, trying to dream up, this podcast and imagine this vast life and not put any effort into it. You know,
You got to start from somewhere.
yeah,
I don't think Joe Rogan didn't get to how many followers does Joe Rogan have? He has like
millions, tens of millions.
he's got
I
like
mean, he's if I had my way, that would be not maybe the level. I mean, that's really ambitious, but the style of podcast, something that can be wide and varied, and I can talk to different interesting people. So and
what we got to do?
what's that,
We got to get Doug Ford on this.
bro? Come on, if you can make it happen, let's do it, bro. I'm
I
down.
know. I
I am
know.
down. I know you got the hook. I
I
know
got
you
the.
got it.
I know. I got the hook, but it's like, hey, man, that's a big things right there.
That
See,
that is big thing, but you got to dream big.
hey, man, you know, um, yeah. I mean, if we had Doug Ford on this podcast, like, what kind of questions would you put to him?
Oh my god. Yo, I honestly don't know, man.
Hmm,
I honestly, what? You don't think about things like that, right?
right.
You think about starting small and building your way up, and to have a big fish like that, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to do a ton of research and try my best to, you know what? Okay, you've been around his brother, you've been around him. How
Hmm.
similar are they? I mean, you don't have to be too specific, but in terms
Um,
of, I mean, they're brothers. They can't be that different.
so when it comes to principles, they're one and the same. When it
Okay.
comes to principles, one thing that a lot of people, if you know the Ford family, what's a shadow? I'm like lost the anyhow. If you know the Ford family, um, you'll know that they do not let anybody pay for them.
Okay.
Okay, and that's something that was drilled in them from their Doug Ford Sr.
Okay.
Basically, you don't owe anybody. You pay your own way every single time. No handouts. So, there was times where, Rob and I would go to a restaurant or what have you to have a meeting with somebody or to meet people, and they would try to, comp the meal. And Rob was like, nope, not happening. He'd pull out $200 or whatever, throw it on
Mhm.
the table, say, hey, I don't care what you do with it, burn it, throw it in the garbage, I don't care, but I don't. Nobody pays for me. I pay my own way. And Doug is the same way.
Okay.
Randy's the same way. Um, Mikey, the nephew, he's the same way
Okay.
because it was drilled in them. So principles, they're one and the same. With the differences between Rob,
Oh,
oh,
sorry
no,
about that.
no worries. The difference between Rob and Doug is that Doug will, how to, he's the more polished one, more mature and
Okay.
seeing the big picture, you know. Um, and Rob is just all about his word is his word, and when he sets his mind to do something, come hell or high water, it's getting done. And if he
Okay.
says, and he was extremely stubborn. So, for example, remember the Jimmy Kimmel, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that
I
was a
do.
that was a fun trip, man.
Okay. Yo, we have to like stretch these out a bit, bro, because I know you got a lot of
No,
gems.
whoa! I ain't gonna. I'm not opening
No,
the
no,
box.
no. I know that. I
It's
know that.
just one little cookie, and then we move on.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
So when I started in the mayor's office, I believe there was all kinds of media outlets that were trying to get Rob with a one-on-one. I
Hmm.
think we saw him on the Today Show at one point. We saw him on I don't know who the guy was. The one guy from Fox News came up and they interviewed him, um, and then uh, people at Jimmy Kimmel reached out, and Rob immediately was like, "No, I'm not doing it. No, no, right?" But it was Doug who kind of, you know, convinced Rob to listen, man. This is a great opportunity, you know, and that's basically it. So I remember I was sitting. So basically, it was I'm sitting in the car,
Hmm.
right, and you know, uh, his phone rings, and he puts it on speaker, and it's Jimmy Kimmel. And Jimmy Kimmel's like, hey, at this point, Doug had already teed up Rob saying, listen, we should do this. And so Rob was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then Kimmel called and they talked. And, again, Rob made it very clear nobody's paying for us. I will pay for the whole trip. There will be no,
He didn't let Jimmy come.
no, heck,
No ABC money. Come on.
nope, nope. I tell you from me, all, everything, everything was paid for by Rob and Doug.
No
Everything.
shit.
Not one iota of Kimmel money or taxpayer money went into that trip. So
Wow.
it was pretty cool. I mean, we got to fly in a private jet, man.
That was gonna ask. Did you take the PJ?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was great, man. Yeah,
That must have been dope. And
hey
they
man,
and they and they funded the PJ too, bruh.
everything,
That
man.
four
So,
that four money must be long, bro.
oh well, I mean, let's just look at the company, Deco Labels. I mean,
Yeah,
they're big. They got Deco labels, Deco
yeah,
packaging, Deco printing. So
yeah,
they got a couple of bucks, as
yeah. I
Rob
got
would
a
say.
couple of bucks.
He's like,
See,
I'm not. Rob would say, I'm not a rich guy.
yeah,
He's like, I don't know what you consider rich. I'm not rich. I got a
mm,
couple of bucks, a
yeah,
couple of dollars here and there. That's
yeah.
about it.
See, and on this podcast, we're not pocket watching. We know they got bread. They doing their thing. We're not pocket watching.
Yeah. But the
So
thing is, one thing that amazed me, and we'll kind of cap it off here with the whole Ford file for now.
okay,
Actually, we'll call it the Ford
the
file.
four file. Okay, bet.
Right, the Ford. So is that to any average person, if you didn't know who Rob Ford was and you went to his house, you wouldn't even know how wealthy he was because he just lived so modestly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what is the one thing like, you know. But he, again, he just really, really loved helping people.
Yeah.
So
See, I never met him. I never had the privilege of meeting him, but I did see him at Caravana, and just to see how he interacted with everybody and he let himself go, and he was so authentic and genuine,
yeah,
and you could see it wasn't contrived or forced, but he was like genuinely in the moment,
100%.
and that's a very admirable quality because a lot of us don't have the ability to live in the moment. We're always looking to something greater and not appreciating what's going on now in this specific part of the process.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's just Rob just always wanted to be with the common people. We would go to a Raptors game, and they'd be like, "Oh, come sit in the box." He'd be like, "No, just give me some regular tickets. I'll just sit with the regular folks."
yeah,
That's how Rob was. So anyhow, moving on from the Ford files.
that is the conclusion of the four files.
Ford files
For
is
it's
closed.
closed. It's closed. So one of the reasons I like talking to you is I think that both of us as black men, I think that um we can have a nuanced conversation, right? We could separate the emotional from the logical.
Mhm.
And so a couple weeks back, I did a podcast on the wonderful young ladies of Black Lives Matter purchasing a $6 million home. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, bro.
I mean, you know, it's you know what? It's really sad, and I feel sorry for the people who really put their hope
Mm-hmm.
in the Black Lives Matter organization because there is racial inequality and there
Yep.
are people that treat you differently because of the color of your skin.
Yes, sir.
And they're getting a free pass. And when they do stuff like this, it just doesn't help.
Yeah.
You know, it just see there they go, them black people, there they go again, selfish as and it's you know, I just I feel sorry, I feel bad that
Yeah.
that's happened, and if I had those organizers in front of me right now, I'd just be like, brother, sister, we got to do better.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. It's easy to attack them, but at the end of the day, we all got to work together because
Yeah.
there is a problem, and um, you know, I'm a Christian, and there is evil in this world that masquerades like it's your friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, you know, the evil in this world does not want to see a black community united. They just want to and I just say people in general. They just want to keep
Mm.
people in general divided.
Yep.
And so here's an example where this story blows up and people are divided and they take sides instead of looking at the bigger picture is that you know there was a movement that happened
Mm-hmm.
in 2020 and to the point where you had did I agree with a lot of the stuff that was done? No, but you had
Mm-hmm.
people paying attention, putting up black what do you black screens and
Mm-hmm.
basketball players wearing I can't breathe or equality and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. Whether it's virtue signaling or not. Hey, it's still a movement, and
Right.
I was really quick to pass judgment, but I've kind of changed my perspective, so I'm not gonna these girls who bought that mansion, you know, to whom much is given, you know, uh, much is expected, you
Yep.
know, and again, I'm a Christian guy, and they'll have to answer to God, you know,
Yeah.
because
Well.
God blessed you guys with a message and a mandate, and this is how you chose to use it,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm not going to judge. Only God can judge, and
Yeah.
I kind of leave it at that.
Yeah. I hear you.
So
Well, you're a better one than me. Like you're a much better one than me, bro.
Well, right now, I mean, you hit me back in 2020. I would have been like raining fire on these guys, but
Yeah.
you know, I
Well, I
just
mean, the good thing now is that a lot of people who were heavily invested into it, they're becoming hip to what's happening. And the biggest thing for me is that you're right. There are people who do suffer inequality and injustice, and none of that stuff is trickling down to them.
yeah,
You have the top 1% is eating, and they're buying mansions, and they're turning it into a content creator house. Like, that's just like the most cliche thing that they could do. A safe space for Black artists. I mean, I don't think it exists. I mean, it's the internet. It's an open forum, and anyone with a voice and anyone who can get a laptop and a microphone, they can project their view into the world. So that safe space is not necessary. My thing is, they've taken in hundreds of millions of dollars. Where the schools at? Where the hospitals? Where the banks? Where the grocery stores? Where the scholarship funds? Where the job placement programs? Where all that shit?
and the thing is that stuff's not there because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because
Damn.
it doesn't.
Damn.
One thing that my dad, my dad and my mom come from Ghana, West Africa, and if we look at the whole makeup of Africa, you ever ask yourself, why isn't Africa a united country? Think about that.
I mean, there are thousands of ethnic groups in Africa, man.
Right. Like, why isn't there, the United States of Africa? Think about it. If Africa was a united country, they would control a good portion of a lot of the world's natural resources. So maybe if I'm, and this is my opinion, if I'm a European who, I've got business interests in Africa, I don't want to see them organize themselves and boot me out. So I'm going to do what I can to undermine, So, and the same thing is happening, here in North America, So,
well, it's interesting that you brought up Europe, because while they recognize all the individual countries, people still talk about Europe in one united monolithic front almost, right? It's like
Union.
The European Union. Yeah. And, I know there are different African unions, but they don't seem to work together.
No, they don't. I mean, I'd have to brush up on my African history, the last, I think, person or African leader to talk about this idea of Pan-Africanism, his name was Kwame Nkrumah, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I believe he was one of the leaders,
Okay.
And ultimately he was overthrown, and he was given the boot.
Okay.
And pretty much any leader who has risen up in Africa to talk about Pan-Africanism and uniting the whole continent, that person has been more or less removed,
Right.
censored, so just to kind of parlay that into what's going on with BLM, it started off as a great movement, but there's evil in this world that do not want to see Black people united. So,
and money makes some people do some strange things, man. Like
because,
that's
like, why how would these individuals allowed to use those funds in that manner? I just it's beyond me, but it happened for a reason.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's true. That nothing happens by coincidence. And
right.
You know what? If something did happen to them, and I'm not, okay, I don't want to say I'm not wishing anything, but I don't want, but I don't want to wish any harm to them or anything. But if they were to have to answer for some of the things that they did, I hope something better would come out of it.
Yeah.
So some dialogue and some understanding, and then we can push forward, because it's very hard to get people to identify with your message when you're yelling at them,
Right.
when you're destroying property, where you're, you know, assigning blame to people who literally don't have anything to do with your gripe.
Mm.
You know, so that's one thing that I wish they would have done. You know, they took these tragic events and they flipped it, they hustled it,
Yeah.
and they turned it into cash. And I wish that there would have been a little bit more thought and genuine activity, right?
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess that's the best way I can
I
put
think
it.
the whole thing, 2020, it all kicked off with George Floyd, if I'm not
Right,
mistaken, right?
right.
So, early on, I myself got drawn into the whole hoopla of just the emotional response.
Right.
But in my experience, I working in security for a long time, and now in a law enforcement capacity. I There's certain things that what was the name of that cop again that ultimately got the charged and convicted?
Chauvin, Derek Chauvin.
Derek Chauvin. Okay, you know, um, I mean, he when you put on that uniform, you're responsible for all
Mhm.
your actions,
Right.
and so the biggest issue I have with Mr. Chauvin is that once you had this individual under control, why did you keep him on the ground?
Mm.
Because basic basic training, when you're security, all security, it's like anybody who's in any kind of law enforcement capacity gets use of force training. And one of the pillars when you take somebody into custody and you have them under control is to keep them safe, you
Okay.
know and avoid any kind of liability.
Mm.
So when he had him on the ground like that with his knee. Some say his knee was on his neck. Some say his knee was on his back. Different camera angles, whatever. There's
Hmm.
this thing called positional asphyxia. There is no reason for him to be on the ground for that long. You know, and so I truly believe if Derek Chauvin got him in cuffs, as much as Mr. Floyd was jumping around flailing like a fish, if you would have set him up, you know what? I mean, he wouldn't, Mr. Chauvin wouldn't have hung because I'm pretty sure they said that Mr. Floyd had high levels of drugs in his
Yeah.
system, right? I think they said he had fentanyl and all
Fentanyl.
kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. So I mean, he was gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I mean, I could be wrong, but either way,
No, that
anyway,
fentanyl.
yeah. So, Mr. Chauvin should have sat him up, and that
Yeah.
would have avoided everything. But the fact that he just left him on the ground, and you know, it just it's hard. You know, what are you doing? You know,
Mm.
like because you're trained. You are trained to take care of the people that you take into custody because you're a public servant.
Mm.
This isn't war. This isn't and us versus them. The people are the police, and the police are the people. So you know you have a duty to the community to make sure that that person is brought to justice, and by putting them in a situation where you endanger their life for no reason, you know, you get what you get, you know. Yeah. So you
Well
know,
said.
and it's you want to back your brother your brothers in blue and whatnot, but
Hmm.
you know he crossed the line there. It was really unprofessional, and you know I always strive to be professional when I'm at work, and when I'm dealing with somebody who's a real asshole, somebody who's really trying to get under my skin, I'm even more professional and I'm more nice. You know,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that's how you really stick it to them because they're trying to bring you down to their level, and you just and if you keep getting brought down to that level, then the job's not for you because you have to be able to rise above it and just say, don't get emotionally drawn in.
Okay.
So I'm sure Mr. Chauvin was pissed at this dude who went over there and did some shenanigans in the store, and he's got some drugs and he's not cooperating, and it's like almost like an ego thing, where it's like I'm gonna show this guy, and he kept him on the ground, and you know, it's what
Okay.
happened. So,
Now you have a security background. Did you ever do any nightclub work?
oh yeah, I did a lot of
Okay,
it.
so now, okay, so we can't touch the four files.
No, no, no.
So I know you got some club
Oh man, well
security storage for me.
I mean, I was young and full of piss and vinegar. I would say before camera phones, you know, uh, a security guard's go-to for authority is the Trespass the Property Act. He said, "I told you to leave. You don't leave. Aha! Now I got a blank check to use as much force as I need to use to get you out of my establishment." You know, um,
Ugh.
and what it should say is as minimal force is necessary to remove them from the establishment. But being a young 20-year-old, 20 something year old, got security on my shirt, walking
Uh-huh.
around, and a big thing is ego. The ego thing is
Mhm.
huge, you know. Um, so yeah, there was some situations in the clubs where that I worked at that uh, we escalated the situation as opposed to de-escalating the situation. you know.
Uh,
So if I had to do that job in today right now, I'd still do it, but definitely my approach would be a lot more different because you can't, you know, you will be held accountable for your actions, and rightfully so. You
okay.
know, so I mean, I 100% support body cameras and
Mhm.
accountability because one thing I've noticed in the whole security law enforcement you know arena or whatever is this sense of protectionism or like brotherhood, like you got to have my back and I have your back. We go out there, we get the job done, whatever we got to do, we got to do to get the job done, and I cover your butt, you cover my butt type thing. And
Okay.
so there's a lot of times where um, before camera phones and before body cameras, where an officer may be present at a situation and somebody goes off the rails, and now they they themselves wouldn't have done it that way, but unfortunately they just got to kind of go along with it because you don't want to be ostracized by your peers for being a
Right.
snitch, right?
Right.
With the cameras, it changes the game because now it's like, hey, we're on camera, so you're responsible for your actions. Nobody's going to cover you.
Hmm.
It eliminates that. So I'm a huge, I have no issue with it. Doesn't make the job, can it make the job challenging? It depends on your perspective, you
Hmm.
know. Um, and that's where the professionalism comes in. You've got to be professional in what you're doing. You got to have that. You can't just be a thug or a meathead and just use force. You've got to use your strongest weapon, which is your tongue, your mouth.
Hmm.
And talk your way. I mean, hey, there are times where you got to go hands on with somebody, and
Of
you got to
course.
be prepared, and you got to train to be able to handle that. But
Hmm.
it has to be a last resort.
Right.
In my 20s, in my younger years, it was the first option.
Yeah, of course. You gonna get this work.
Oh, you're like, what? What you say to me? What?
Uh-huh.
You're out of here. Leave. What? You're not leaving?
These hands ready to eat for everybody. Everybody catching them.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. And
Oh
even
man.
with the prevalence of weapons out there now,
Yeah, man.
and let's face it, security guards in Canada are not authorized to carry firearms.
And that's crazy, man.
Well, you know, um,
Okay. Let's take a step back.
okay.
What do you are you cool with like the two-way American legislation as far as gun ownership? Do you wish that it was a little easier to own guns here?
Well, okay. So I am a licensed gun owner,
Right.
right? Um, I had to jump through a lot of hoops.
Hmm.
Um, so I am okay with how I acquired my firearms license and I acquired firearms. I'm
Okay.
not a criminal. I'm a law-abiding citizen. you know. And I think in certain settings, a Canadian citizen should have the right to defend their property and defend their lives and the lives of their family by any means necessary. You
Hmm.
know, so right now in Canadian law, from my understanding, um, there isn't any, like, if you go to in the states, they have the whole stand your grounds, your stand your
Hmm.
ground rule, and
Hmm.
then in certain states you can, well, Americans have the constitutional right to bear arms,
Arms. Yes,
right?
sir.
So, in Canada, um, we have the right to acquire them if we go through all these steps, but guns are illegal in Canada. You can't just go out and buy one. You have to have a
Right.
license for it.
Right.
So I think in certain settings, like, where I live, I live in a rural area, you know.
Hmm.
So if somebody is gonna break into my house, um, to rob my family, um, I should have the right to access my firearm and protect my family because where I live, the nearest police cruiser is maybe 5 minutes away. 5 minutes is a long time,
It's done.
right? So I should be able to access my firearms and say, "Hey, I'm armed. I have a firearm. Leave my residence. You come any further, I will shoot." And I'm if I feel if I perceive a threat to my life, I'm justified in using lethal force. The question is, firearms, because in Canada, there's been a few cases where people have used firearms to protect themselves and protect their families, and you still get arrested, you still get charged, but when it gets to court, you know, it gets thrown out. But you still
Right.
have to go through all that rigmarole. That is where I have a problem, and I think that the government needs to address that. If you live in Brampton or Mississauga or Toronto, you could have a police car at your house in like, 20 seconds,
Hmm.
you know. But if you live out in, like, I don't know, um, uh, let me, that's a Fergus, so, like, somewhere way up north, you
Uh-huh.
know, where it's policed by the OPP,
Hmm.
and in one huge area, you may have four cars covering that whole area, you know, um, the response time is going to be a lot longer, so, by designation, you should be able to apply and get permission to have a license and still go through these steps to have a license, still go through training, go through testing so that we know that you are competent
Hmm.
enough. Like, let me tell you this, police officers in Ontario, they're not required to have a firearms license.
What?
Yeah. Police officers in Ontario are not required to have a firearms license.
Well, I mean, don't they get training through the department or?
Yeah, they get training. By the virtue of their job, they are issued a firearm, but they do not have to get a Canadian firearms license. And a lot of them don't have Canadian fire. You see what I'm saying? You know? So that's kind of like, so me, I'm a licensed gun owner.
Hmm.
I have a license to acquire and possess firearms, but there's stipulations with that where I have to store it a certain way. And when I go to transport it, I have to register, when I'm transporting it, what route I'm taking. It's a lot of red tape.
Okay, yeah.
So I find it really laughable when I hear liberals or the NDP talk about we need tougher gun laws. We have some of the toughest gun laws in the world. So I don't know whether I don't know, maybe we should have tougher sentences for people who get caught with illegal guns, right?
There you go. Well, come on, man. Stop with that. You can't bring common sense into the conversation, bro.
Oh, shoot. Hey, because it's not, it doesn't score political points, you
Right.
know? So back to your question with regards to how the states is two-way. I am not comfortable with everybody and their aunt having guns because more guns leads to more gun violence. But I do think you should be able to. Um, I think there should be case law that sets a precedent where you know you're what's called, I think it's called the castle doctrine,
Hmm.
where somebody's invading your house, or somebody's puts you or your family in danger. whatever means, you know. So if you're a licensed gun owner, sure, you can use your license. Again, you got to be a licensed gun owner, not
Hmm.
having a legal gun, a licensed gun owner. If you're not a licensed gun owner, hey, you can't use a firearm. You got to go get the kit. You got to go get the knife from the kitchen cabinet, or go get a baseball bat. You know, all
Yeah,
it's all justified,
right.
right? You know, so but your question was about specifically firearms.
Hmm.
So that's where I stand. You know, I think it has to do with where you live. I think Stephen Harper years ago kind of mused about the idea of people that live in rural areas being able to protect their homes with firearms, and the liberals and the left, they went crazy. They were they went nuts. You know, so
See, I don't. I hear people. They're like, most people. They try to cite the stats. Most people who come into your house, they just want your TV, right? They just want your material goods. Who are you to tell me that I should even take that chance?
yeah, you want to take that chance?
You,
Hey,
you,
but hey, what are you here to? No, man, you coming to my house. You're coming. I don't have time to figure out what your motive is. It's
yeah,
like no,
right?
you know. So I mean, eh, but as it stands now, if somebody was to like, I don't keep my firearms um, in my bedside table or whatnot. No,
Hmm.
because you're gonna get it's locked away. There's no ammo. It's unloaded. There's a trigger guard on it. It's basically you can't possess firearms for home defense, and I think that's what should change in Canada in
Okay.
certain settings. And I'm okay with red tape. You may have to pay. Maybe extra house insurance. Um, you know, maybe you have to pay personal insurance and liability, or whatever.
But
You
why
know,
only certain settings? Why not all settings?
well,
Someone who does live in Toronto, you know,
because they
20
real
seconds might not be an amount of time I'm willing to gamble.
it's what that's a good question. Um, and you know what? Um, I'm not going to push back on you on that one. It's a very very good question. Um, where I just am not comfortable with everybody and their mom having guns because more guns out there lead to more gun violence.
Well, that's where I stand too. Like, yeah, I'm from the States. I'm very 2A. I believe in gun ownership.
Hmm.
But everybody, they're not for everybody, man. Like,
Right.
you have to have a certain level of maturity to handle a firearm. You
Hmm.
can't just pull it whenever you feel like it because a lot of people, they would do it.
Right.
Like, for the get the fuck off my.
Bam.
Exactly. And
I
we
see.
can't have that type of stuff.
I see the video where he showed us somewhere in the states where neighbors got into a shouting match about shoving in the driveway, and someone throwing salt or whatever. The guy went into the house, got a shotgun, and blew the both of them away, and said, "You should have shut your mouth. I told you to shut your mouth." It's just like, you know, that's where it's like, that person. And
No.
see, there's certain states where you could just walk into a Walmart. Where was
Yeah.
I? I think I was in Maryland or Delaware, one of those
Most
states.
states.
Yeah, and I walked in there and in the Walmart, this hand you can buy a handgun, no questions asked.
Yep.
That's no man, that's a problem. You
Yeah.
know, I do believe like I'm a responsible gun owner. So it's that the likelihood of me taking my legally acquired firearm to go do criminal activity is very low. You
Yeah.
know, I'm pretty sure all licensed gun owners in Canada get their criminal records checked every single day. So if you have something, then automatically the firearms officer in your region gets notification and they come for your firearms. I could be wrong, but that's what I pretty sure the process is. So
So in Canada, you have the essentially the cream, not the most responsible people who are in possession of firearms. I mean, every single day, that's you don't have the option of making a mistake. If you want to protect your family, you don't have the option of making a mistake.
right, and I'm okay with again putting in more red tape. I'm okay with that,
Mm,
But I do believe if somebody is able to jump through all the hoops to possess and acquire firearms, the government should get out of their way and allow them to protect their lives, to protect themselves. They should have the
hmm.
right to protect themselves because I don't want to rely on the government to protect me. It's my right to protect myself. You know,
Hmm.
so if I want to go learn jujitsu or whatever, somebody come mess with me, you're gonna get the one too. You
Hmm.
know, I acquired these skills through training and so on and so forth. The same goes with firearms. You know, so I mean, I could have a big samurai sword, and someone breaks into my house. Hey, I'm trained. I know how to use it. Pull my samurai sword. Hey, what are you doing here? And then you
So
do it
sashimi, just
right.
oh man. Well, I mean, man, I think that a lot of us now, we see and we feel the overreach of government, and we kind of want to get out of that. Like, I actually have a few friends who are now, because of the last couple of years, decided to go out and pursue gun ownership, going through the courses, taking the training, and trying to get themselves in the position where they're better equipped to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And I talk the more and more I talk to other people, they want to move out of that. They want to become more self-sufficient. They want to learn how to hunt. They want to learn how to uh, take care of themselves in close quarters, self-defense situations. And I think that's a good thing. I think that a trained society is a strong society.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Well, let's look at. I'm pretty sure, like a state like Texas. You know, I got a friend of mine who was a police officer here in Canada,
Mhm,
and he, after I think I want to say 12 years of service, he quit, and
mhm.
he met a girl in the states, and so there's a program in the states where if you join the U.S. Army, you do I think a year and a half or 2 years of service, you'll get your green card, right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
he married the girl, and he went down there, was in the army, and so now he lives in Texas. Cost of living is a lot less than it is here, right? So, I message him from time to time, and he's just like, buddy, it's a different feeling when you go to the grocery store with a 45 on your hip. Right?
No, don't go down to Texas and play. Don't
Right?
go to Texas. That's not the place to
Because
play.
because you're gonna find out.
You gonna find out.
You're gonna find, and so I'd be interested to see what their statistics are with regards to home invasions, um, shooting incidences, and so on
Uh-huh.
and so forth. Be very interested to see. And there are places that are very rural.
Hmm.
People have a lot of land, so
I mean,
I
you're less likely to mess around if there's the threat of a shootout, right?
right,
Because there's no predator prey scenario. It's like you
right,
said, you
because
better have something bigger than what I'm packing, or it's gonna be a long day.
right, and then when you look at Toronto, you know, um, uh, I'm a law abiding citizen and a licensed gun owner, but
Hmm.
yet when I step outside of my house, I am at the mercy of those criminals
Yeah.
who have illegal guns and who don't give a damn about all of the gun laws. They don't care,
No, they
right?
don't.
So,
And we actually ran into some. They were East African. I would think they might have been Somali, and it's
mhm,
summer and dudes walking around in a leather jacket. It's 30 degrees outside and we're getting into it, right? It's getting heated and it's in there. And luckily someone comes over and he's like, okay, it's too many eyes here, so I'm not gonna do it. But he didn't give a shit. He was
right,
gonna pull it broad day and like come on, man.
right,
You
yeah.
know, and it's like it's not this is not Chicago B. This is not Detroit. This is not East St. Louis or Baltimore. This is Toronto, downtown Toronto.
But the word now is what I'm seeing is the word is now it's better to be caught with your gun than to be caught without it.
That's true.
Because now all the criminals are all carrying firearms.
Yeah.
So if you're in that life, you don't want to be caught without your gun because someone's coming for you, right?
Yeah.
So it's that idea of mutually agreed to destruction or whatever.
Yeah.
Mutually,
Yeah. And these young kids, they some real crash dummies.
hmm
They
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 don't care.
no honor, no nothing. They don't care.
Yeah, they
and
don't care.
they out there listening to this drill and they spinning and sliding and doing all that other stuff, man. They just
They
don't
don't,
care, man.
they don't care.
And it's
So,
and it's young kids. It's 13, 14, 15 year olds. And
well, look at what happened. They took the police out of the schools, and then how many school shootings have we had since they took the police out of the schools?
I
Right,
don't know, but they just had something on the news. There were a few shootings, couple stabbings, and
right. So I just shake my head. I shake my head, but it's uh, you know what? I think that the pendulum always swings. So it swings one way, and then it swings right back.
Mhm,
So eventually, I mean, but then again, let me be empathetic. I do. If you're somebody who grew up in a home where your dad or your mom had questionable background
mhm,
and had negative interactions with police, or because of your last name and who you're connected to, you know, the police can't help but keep an eye on you,
mhm.
then, it does create an environment that's uncomfortable for that particular pupil. So
It
I
does.
can, I can empathize
Mhm.
and say, okay, maybe having uniformed police officers is not the best thing for schools, but I mean, I would rather err on the side of caution because
Mhm.
I know a lot of what you know school resource officers,
Yeah,
and they're great people.
of course.
They
Yeah.
they genuinely go that's one thing that I look forward to, if I get the opportunity, is to walk down the halls of a high school and talk to kids in uniform. But I do recognize that there are kids or teenagers who see a police uniform and it just strikes fear because that's all they know,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So that's something that both sides have to come together to bridge that gap,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because
Uh,
we can't just say okay, and just let criminal behavior just run roughshod and run rampant. Like, come on,
No.
right? So there has to be a balance.
Yeah, it does have to be balanced. And you're right. It you know, there are some kids who come from some really, really crappy backgrounds. And um I wish that there was more guidance outside, more communal effort, right? And I don't really want to go here, but it starts with calling shit out. It starts with being accountable and not and
Oh,
not I'm going there. It starts with, you know, stop stop with the free my boy shit. Stop with all yo, it does. We gotta be honest. We gotta tell the truth. We
I'm gonna, I'm
can't
gonna,
we
I'm gonna
can't
get,
accept
I'm,
degenerate behavior, bro.
I'm gonna get even more. I'm gonna cut straight to the bone here.
Oh, we going there.
I'm going in. Okay, you ready for it?
Uh-huh.
Young black men, stop having babies. Stop knocking up other young black women. And if you, it's plain and simple. Be responsible. You know, at the age of,
Yep.
if you ain't got a job,
You know we're gonna get in trouble for this.
oh, they're gonna
It-
call us.
we're gonna end up on World Star, like some
You
shit
know,
like that.
they're gonna call us. They're gonna call me Uncle Ruckus.
The C word. We're gonna get caught the C word.
Listen, the bottom line is, you know, a lot of these dudes running around causing all these problems, they're coming from fatherless homes.
They are.
Boom. So, so I would say young women, pre, pre, uh, preserve your virtue.
Hmm.
Save your virtue for your husband. Plain and simple.
Hmm.
Young man, if you go and get some, wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. You know, and be responsible.
Yep.
You know, that's the, and if you, call me, whatever. Like if uh, I'm not gonna sit here and say that in my 20s I wasn't like a pit bull with little pink
It
things
was
coming out.
reckless.
You
Yeah.
know, but I can look back and say, listen, what the biggest issue, in I would say in our black community is fatherless children.
Hmm.
Plain and simple. You know, because either you have daughters that are raised without a father, so they don't know what a proper father figure is. So then they go and they get, you know, tied up with some thug, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
some dude who's just living for now and not thinking that, 5, 10 years ahead, has no plan. He's just thinking about getting his right now, you know,
Mm-hmm.
knocks her up. He's like, whatever. And now she's stuck, and she has a daughter, or she has a son, and the cycle just keeps going.
Keeps
And guess what?
continuing.
And then they go and they're depending on the government, and it just keeps going. It all comes back to young women, protect your virtue.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just hook up with anybody. You if he ain't if he ain't willing to come meet your dad, meet your mom, you know, show you that he's got a plan.
Mm-hmm.
5, 10 years from now, this is where he want. If he's not, ready to marry you, and that's what he's not doing. He don't waste your time with this fool.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna tell you all the sweet nothings just to get in those pants.
Yep.
And it's a killer cycle, because young females will give up the physical intimacy to get that emotional intimacy that they crave,
Yep.
that they're not getting from their mother or their father, because
Mm-hmm.
mother's not there or dad's not there. So that's what I break it down to. I
Yeah. Yo, and I would even go a step further.
Oh, snap.
There's there's so much talent in the black community.
Mm,
But what we need to stop doing is stop being a pipeline to Universal Records. We need to
mm.
stop being a pipeline to the NBA and the NFL and Major League Baseball and start to pursue some other aspects. We need to break down the barriers of what's socially cool or what's socially acceptable. Because there are a lot of bright young brothers, even if you take dudes in the hood, right? Dudes
Mm.
selling drugs or whatever.
Mm.
These dudes are operating businesses.
Yeah.
They have payroll, they have overhead, they have inventory, they have all these things, and they are balancing the sheet. And if they could put that effort into a more productive space, then you start seeing more legal entrepreneurs. You stop seeing the dependency on the fast money.
Okay, I better go left on here, but I'm gonna go
Okay.
left. I'm gonna go
All
left
right,
on
that's
this.
cool. Go left.
Okay, so but they're not given the opportunity.
Is that it? Okay, that's true. But is that
I, I,
always true?
I didn't say that's true. I'm just saying. I'm just going left. I'm just throwing it left.
You going left? Okay,
I'm
there are
just
some
going
people who don't. But you know what? My dad grew up on the east side of Detroit.
left.
There are a lot of people from the east side of Detroit that didn't make it.
Right.
My dad did, but my dad applied himself. My dad sacrificed. He stayed away from the bullshit. He did not marry a woman who was willing to give away her virtue
Mm,
without commitment.
right.
And he
I
married a
like the way you
woman,
put that.
huh?
I like the way you put that.
And he also married a woman who saw his vision and was willing to support his vision
Hmm.
and give him a family and be patient enough to and observant enough to realize that his vision would take away from her.
Mm,
And when he got there, he would be able to give back and pay back. And he has. And
mm.
now, not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the ambition to do that. But I
Well,
think
it's
that
not it's not easy.
it's
It's
not
not
easy.
easy.
And you
It's not
can't
easy.
give up. And you can't and don't get me wrong. There are tons of people in the black community who don't get exposure to certain experiences and they don't see outside of that. And I'm sorry for that, but that can't be used as an excuse.
Okay.
You're gonna
Okay.
go left again.
Well, I'm gonna go down the center here.
Okay.
So I would say maybe we need to start calling out the mainstream, because it seems to me that they glorify these certain roles
Hmm.
that only a black person, you only fit into this role. So, oh, you're black, you got big muscles, you can play football. It's
Hmm.
like, well, why is it only football? Why can't I become a local counselor? Why can't
Hmm.
I become a CEO? Why can't I, you know what I mean? Like, why can't I become a doctor or become a lawyer? Or, why is it that, this, it seems like the mainstream. is they push this whole, and I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just going down the center, but I think we got to call that shit out.
Well, I mean, bro, I remember walking down the hallways and the coaches, the biggest dude, tallest dude, you hoop, you play football, you do this, you do that. Like, if you carried any type of size, any type of athletic ability, it was like, you want to be a politician? Damn that. You're going to play football. And I think that we got to get away from the nerdy shit, right? It's like if somebody wants to be a politician, that's some nerd shit.
Well,
Well,
I mean, I would say that there's nothing wrong with somebody saying they want to play in the NBA.
No,
they need to go beyond that.
Uh-huh.
It's not just the NBA. What is playing professional sports going to do for you long term? Is it going to give you an education? Yes. Is that education going to get you a job? Yes. So we got to call out these schools that just pump out dumb athletes.
Yeah.
Like like for example, was it LeBron James? Was he the last NBA player to get taken straight from high school?
No, he was. I mean, there's been plenty. I don't.
I think
who got taken out from high school? Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not sure.
I think LeBron James was the last one, but now what they do is they do one flimsy year of college.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I bet you if you look at their transcripts, it's a joke, right? So that's where. But at the end, it's just like, where do you find that balance where you're not trying to? People can do whatever the heck they want to do, but we got to call that out. Saying, you know what, that's not socially acceptable for you to go and you right out of high school and then you just drop out of college to go play professional ball. Because what happens when you bust your knee and you can't play ball anymore? Now what do you got?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you're a top 100 player, you're not going to school for school. You're going for the exposure of playing at a major university.
So that's just one example using the NBA because that one's easy. But I just, that's where we got to start calling out. Somebody's a great, somebody's funny. Oh, hey, you can be a comedian. Ever thought of being an actor? It's like, well, I mean, why don't you look beyond that? Maybe that person can go and found a performing arts school. Maybe what I mean. Like that's kind of, and I mean, if that's already happening, then great. But I'm not seeing that promoted in the mainstream. It's all about social, TikTok, Instagram, clout chasing.
Yep.
To get that one video that's going to get you millions of views. That's going to get you put on.
Yep.
Distracting from, you need education. You need it. Like LeBron James is a great basketball player, but he's dumb as a bag of hammers. Dumb as a.
Well, you know what? He may be dumb as a bag of hammers, but he's smart enough to surround himself with some very smart people.
You sure about that?
I mean, the bank account speaks for itself. Maybe not his social awareness stuff, but in terms of financially securing his future, he has made some good decisions.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that one. I think he could do much better.
What do you mean by that?
I think LeBron James is only really touching about 10% of his potential. He's a dump. He's an idiot. He's not a smart person. He's not a smart man. Not at all. He's really good at basketball, but that's about it.
Brian, I don't think he's stupid. The internet's undefeated. So in 10 years, if this comes up, Brian, I don't think he's stupid. That's Jerry. And Jerry's 6'2", 290. So I don't know if you want that smoke.
If this is LeBron watching this, you dumber than a bag of hammers. Okay? I don't listen, you know what? I have encountered in my security days, I've encountered LeBron James a number of times, and I've seen how stupid this guy is. Okay? And I'm just gonna leave it at that. So he loves Toronto.
He owns Toronto. He paying property tax in Toronto.
Whoa. Whoa.
LeBronto.
No. Drake owns Toronto. Let's do 100. Okay, I'm just saying, like I've seen how, how you know what? I'll just use just one basic example. When you saw that shooting that happened, um, was it a year and a half ago, where that police officer had to make a split-second decision to save a girl from getting stabbed to death.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that.
And this fool, instead of keeping his mouth shut, you know, opened his mouth saying, you're next. It's like, dude, what? And then it's just like, are you? It's like, and that's where, and I would love to be like, you know what, LeBron? See, if I was the if I was the police chief, I'd be like, LeBron James, come here, come. You're gonna go. We're gonna put you through a simulation. You're gonna put on a gun. You're gonna put on a vest. And we're gonna put you through a simulation and see how you react. You know, and it's like, how dare you criticize this officer who just saved a young black girl's life, just so you gonna criticize just so you can score some political points and make yourself look like you're conscious when you really look like an idiot because you spoke without even thinking.
Now
It was,
I'll give you this one. That was some dumb shit. I'll give you that one.
and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, so you know who's really smart? Michael Jordan, because he knew when to shut the f up.
I'm not sure Michael even gave a shit. Michael was like,
No, 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 no,
I'm busy winning.
no, no, no. He, did you ever watch the Netflix thing called The Last Dance?
Hmm.
Okay, remember he addresses it when they were. I think they were coming at Michael to try to get him to say some stuff about maybe Rodney King or so, I don't know what it was, but he
Hmm.
basically was just like, "Listen, man, I play basketball. That's not my lane. I'm gonna stay in my lane." Or so, oh, sorry, I think it had to do with endorsing some political candidate or
Hmm.
whatever. But he's like, "Listen, I play basketball. Like, I'm not trying to mix. No, 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 no. This is my lane." And I that's where I had the utmost respect for him because he knew when to keep his mouth shut and not to be exploited by people who are just evil. And LeBron, dumber than a bag of hammers, you see what he did.
But okay. Now let me go left.
Okay, go
What
left.
if Michael Jordan was drafted in 2010 and he had come into the league and taken it by storm right away, and he had the same platform that LeBron James has now? Do you think he would respond the same?
No,
Do
because
you, or do you think he would jump into the water and you
no, no,
know?
no. He would have just stayed in his lane. The same nonsense happened when he was drafted into the league or whatnot. Well, he didn't take the league by storm. He was a slow riser, but still, when he blew up
He
big.
averaged 27 points in his rookie year.
Oh, he did. Okay, so I
Yeah,
stand corrected.
man. He
I was
averaged
being
37 points his second year.
Yeah, hey man, I didn't really start watching basketball until the first Bulls team. That's when I
Oh,
immersed myself. So no, but to answer your question, no. Michael Jordan, he's smarter than that. He knows when to keep his mouth shut and not be used by people who are just evil, who just say, "Oh yeah, that guy's an idiot. We can get him to say what we need him to say to cause further division." You know,
mhm.
if LeBron would have said nothing, it would have been fine. Or if he would have just, when they put the question to him, he would have been like, you know what? Being a police officer is really hard, and out of respect for all law enforcement in the country, I'm gonna reserve my comments until we see all the facts.
Shea Butter Twitter would have crucified LeBron if he did that. They would have crucified him, bro.
But that's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do, but man, we live in a weird time where it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, you
And
know.
that's why he's dumber than a bag of hammers.
That's
Because
why he's.
you know who used to say that all the time? Rob Ford.
Shout out to Rob Ford.
Shout out to Rob Ford. You know,
Oh man, like yeah, the culture we live in is like it's such a woke place now, man. It's like everybody's just
where does this thing of woke come from? What is this woke? I don't
I
understand.
don't know, like people just outraged at every little thing.
I
It's
don't know if
like
it's called, I don't know if it's called wokeism or it's just called victimhood. The victim's mentality. Everybody's walking around here playing the victim. It's not my fault. It's they're blaming somebody else for all their problems. Nobody wants to take
yeah,
accountability for their own crap.
yeah.
It's not my fault. That's what I see. It's that people who can't look in the mirror They go and they find a cause to wrap themselves in to make
Mm,
themselves feel better. Meanwhile, they're rotting on the inside, and they don't, and so they cling to this cause because that's all
yep.
they got,
Yep.
instead of taking accountability for their own actions. So wokeism, I don't know. I just I don't get it. And the folks that perpetuate this nonsense, like our prime minister, um, I I shake my head at this. I'll say this though. I'm seeing a movement of, I don't know if I said it on our last sit down, um, but I do not think that Justin Trudeau, his agreement with the NDP is going to last more than a year and a half. I said it today. I said it. I don't think it's going to last more than a year and a half.
Well, they just showed some numbers on TV this morning, and it looks like they have to give up something, or they're gonna leave some votes on the table. So
Yeah. No.
this has to.
So what? Sorry. So what do you mean by that?
Well, they can't have all the votes, right? Somebody has to take ownership of these numbers, right? So
Yeah.
if the MDP is taking money from or taking votes from the Liberal Party, there has to be something done, and vice versa. But I keep watching the boy Pierre, man. He keeps he keeps spending some game.
Hey, he has got my vote, and I'll tell you this: people that never paid attention to politics have gone out and bought memberships
Yeah.
just so they can vote for Pierre Poilievre. So, and his message is very simple: freedom,
Yep.
freedom, freedom to love who you want to love, freedom to make as much money as you want to make, freedom to go and come as you please, and freedom to worship God in the way that you want to worship God, and freedom to take control of your own life. Hey, everybody can get behind that. And that's the thing. I don't care, you know, uh, what God you worship, who you love. It's of no consequence to me. If
Hmm.
that's what makes you feel whole, fill your boots. I'm not into this. Well, if you don't do what we say we want you to do, then you're an outcast.
Hmm.
Mm-mm. And that's what we're seeing now. Even with the masking. It's just laughable. I think you did you see that Toronto teacher who's been placed on home assignment now because the teacher wrote a letter to all the students basically saying, if you don't wear a mask in my class, you're gonna have to sit outside because you're endangering my life. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what is wrong with this person? Like, how is this person a teacher?
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm serious. You can go look it up. Serious.
Bruh. I this whole mask stuff. I was actually on Twitter last weekend, and there was this woman who she had a 5 year old, and she says, "Oh, my 5 year old. She started. It's mid April. Her 5 year old is sneezing. She has a runny nose, so she gets a COVID test, and she comes back positive, right? And
Yeah.
so she goes off on this tirade. I could have killed my grandma, and you've overstepped your bounds by ending the mask mandate and all this other stuff. And it's like, come on, man. Like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna sit in this one space forever?
Well, my question to her would be, before COVID, what did you do during cold and flu season?
You stayed your ass at home. You ate soup. You drank liquids. You got rest.
So that's what my question would be to that person. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like you kind of have to turn their stupidity around on them so they can
Mm-hmm.
look at how stupid they're being, and then they have to admit it. Like, okay, maybe I'm being a bit, crazy here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I am being a bit insane because again, the idea that you know me putting this over my face is going to protect me or protect you is just ridiculous. Like it's not based in science. It,
Yeah.
it just isn't, you know. And so I'm just not. When you have somebody who jumping up on there saying that, oh, this is because they ended the mask mandate, it's like, show me the proof. Where's
Mm-hmm.
your data? Where's your studies? Because every study that I've seen clearly shows that the masks are nothing more than face decoration. And you know, the cold and flu, it's seasonal. It comes in the fall, and then it goes down, and then it comes back in the spring. It's
Mm-hmm.
seasonal. That's what
Yep.
happens. You
Yep.
know, and I'll go one step further. These people like this need to get an education. They understand how does your understand your immune system. Our immune systems are made out of two things: bacteria and viruses. Woo! If I was to swab my arm right now, there's going to be all kinds of bacteria, all kinds of viruses, good bacteria, bad bacteria, but it's
Mm-hmm.
all in God's plan how we stay strong as humans so that we can
Yeah.
survive the elements. So, that's why when I'm kind of going off on a rant here, but when they locked everybody inside their houses, I'm just like, this is not scientific because as soon as you let everybody out, what do you think's going to happen?
They're gonna get sick.
Exactly. You know, our immune system needs to interact with the outside world. I need to meet different people and
Yes,
come into
sir.
contact with different viruses so that it stays up to date. And if one virus catches me off guard, okay, my immune system activates. I catch a little bit of a cough. My immune system's working to, okay, it's got the code, it's reconfiguring. Boom, you're all better. And now I got the code and I'm good. Moving on, right?
Yep.
That's why, when kids are young, they say they haven't built up an immune system. So to this woman who's saying, my 5-year-old has a cough or whatever and tested positive for COVID, so what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we worldwide, the number of kids that have died from COVID is insignificant
Yep.
compared to the seasonal flu. Come on, the lady needs a reality check.
Yeah, and everybody forgot that hospitals are full every winter
Yeah.
with flu patients. I see every single year, and nobody cared until 2020.
Well, that's because the mainstream told you,
Yep.
right?
To
And
care.
that's why people can't. If you know, if you're not paying attention, you know, Malcolm X said it very well. That the media is a very dangerous entity. It can make a criminal look like a hero, and a
Mm-hmm.
hero look like a criminal. I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
that's the quote. I'm paraphrasing the
Yeah,
quote.
it's something along those lines.
You
Yeah.
know, so we the people, this whole COVID mess. What should happen is them damn media outlets need to be held accountable for the propaganda and the fear that they spewed and put people in for the last 2.5, 3 years. But hey, what do I know? I'm just in my basement getting
Uh,
high. What do I know? Remember, I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor. So, you know,
So should we trust the science still or not?
what science? What science? You know, And I hope,
Mm-mm.
there's this one guy, Peter Uni. That's another dumb as a bag of hammers. He was the head of the Ontario Science Table.
Mm-mm.
This guy's a straight idiot. You know, um, I just I don't understand how somebody that dumb could get that position. You know, and is responsible for the misery. Because look, regardless of how you feel about the virus, because there's people that have died
Mm-mm.
from COVID, with COVID, people that have, you know, had long COVID. You know, the bottom line is that when you're dealing with a pandemic, the way that we dealt with it in Canada and basically worldwide is unprecedented, and it's not scientific. You know, you don't, when you're dealing with a pandemic, you don't lock down healthy people regardless of whatever the initial stages are, because the one of the reasons why they justified lockdowns was like, oh well, this virus has an incubation period where people don't show any symptoms. So what?
Yeah.
You know, the bottom line is that, half of the population already had natural immunity. And remember, a year and a half ago, if you said natural immunity, oh, you got canceled, you got censored.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And now we know that, well, yeah, natural immunity is a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, um, they handled it all wrong from the beginning. This is why we don't put doctors in charge of a public emergency, because the COVID-19 pandemic was not a public health emergency. It's a public emergency because it affects every aspect of society. You know,
Okay.
we have 2 years of raw data to show you how it affected everybody.
Hmm.
People lost businesses. People got fired from their jobs. People went into depression. People
Yeah.
committed suicide.
Hmm.
All kinds of people missed their cancer screenings.
And they never talk about that.
Yeah, because one thing I know for sure is when the government makes a mistake, they don't want to admit that they made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, another thing is the government doesn't always tell you the truth,
No.
right? So that's a question I put to Doug Ford. It's like, so when have you knowingly lied to the people, knowing that you were lying, but you did it, you know, to be noble? It was a noble lie.
That's a slippery slope there, man.
But you see, you know, like because from the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, it's a pandemic. We're kind of due for one worldwide. And they started with all these crazy measures. I'm like,
We're kind of due for one.
yeah, they usually happen every like 100 years or so, every
Okay.
80 to 100 years or whatever. So it was like, yeah, you know what? We're kind of. I mean, you know, like this is a major pandemic. Like pandemics are ongoing; they always happen, right?
Hmm.
They just want to get to a state where they're endemic, where it's just seasonal and it's treatable, you know.
Hmm.
So this whole thing, like from the beginning of this, there's so many shady things with regards to, you know, COVID-19, you know, this novel coronavirus that came out of China or wherever, you know, that our children and our children's children will see the movies about and will get the truth about it, you know? Like
Uh,
like who killed Biggie and Tupac?
Yo, I'm really interested to see that. Like in 20 years, is there gonna be some whistleblower in some non-extradition country somewhere hiding out, releasing secret documents of widespread, you know, media and politics and the health sector of, I mean, that's a conspiracy theory, but you know, it's hard not to think that, you know, they were all in cahoots and coordinated this widespread hysteria because, like you said, it's not a public health issue, it's a public issue. And you know, when COVID first hit, the first month of COVID, I went to the beer store and I found it ironic that everything else was closed, but the dispensaries were popping, the beer store was popping, the LCBO was popping, and the guy's in there. He's like, we made a month's worth of revenue in 1 week.
It's a very clever wealth transfer.
It is a very clever wealth transfer.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of there's stuff that we the public will not find out until, you know, those who had a hand in those decisions are very well insulated, you
Hmm.
know. And
Yeah.
like let's look at the you know the chief leader, the, you know, Dr. Anthony Fauci in the States. You know, let's back to the 80s with the whole AIDS pandemic.
Hmm.
You know, he was saying some really stupid stuff back then, and he got away with it. Now nobody talks about how he was dead wrong about AIDS.
Yep.
And to add to that, you know, remember back in the 80s and 90s, you got AIDS, oh, you dead. That's a death sentence,
Yeah.
right? Now it's like nobody even really, okay, you have HIV, so what?
Yeah. Yeah. Really.
It's treatable, you know. And so, and if you look into Dr. Fauci, there's so many things that, you know, they were trying to come up with an AIDS vaccine, an HIV vaccine, and all kinds of nonsense that completely fell apart. And, you know, you follow the money, it don't look so good, and you're not going to see any mainstream media outlet really put the screws to him on this,
No.
but yet he holds the highest public health position in the United States. And this is the
Hmm.
guy that's, you know, giving Joe Biden the advice. I mean, you know, it just,
And I have a colleague who told me a really interesting story about his wife as well. It told me how completely sinister that she is. Apparently, they were doing experimentation here that was so evasive that it was deemed illegal. So they went to Tunisia. And in Tunisia, what they did was they buried beagles up to their neck. And what they allowed sandflies to come onto them and excuse me, I missed a step. They cut their vocal cords so they couldn't bark and they couldn't howl and they couldn't scream. And they allowed sandflies to literally eat their faces off.
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked him, I was like, what was the purpose of this research? And he said, they just wanted to do it. They just wanted to put forth a stimulus and see what the outcome would be. These are the people who are in charge of.
So,
wow, man.
Amen. Well, we'll save that for another time. Let's cap this at an hour and 30. So we got about 4 minutes.
That works, bro.
4 minutes.
So next time we talk,
we'll go into the Ford file.
You owe me another Ford file for sure. And this time, like, you keep dropping off these little appetizers, man. I need a little something substantial, like a little meaty. I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding. We'll work that in as we go. So
I gotta see if I could try. I gotta see if I could. I mean, that would be pretty cool to get Doug Ford on this, right? You know,
that would be amazing.
Well, I can tell you this: it's not going to be before June 2nd.
That's cool.
After June 2nd, you know.
That's cool, man. I mean, just have him on here would be it'd be crazy.
Yeah, but you know them. This is what's going to happen. He gets on here, and then it's going to go crazy, viral probably or whatnot, and then the mainstream media is going to be like, "Who are these two guys? Oh, look, it's the former bodyguard, and who's this Devin guy? They're gonna."
I'm nobody. I'm nobody. You never heard of me. I'm new. I don't have any ties to anybody. I'm clean.
So that's what you think.
That's what I was just thinking. If that did happen, I'd probably get a call from a publicist saying, "This is what you can and can't talk about." So, but hey, I'd love to go viral. Let's go viral.
Hey, you know, get a couple thousand followers. You know,
that'll work. Keep the platform going. Then we can maybe work and get Pierre on here. And
man, I would love to have I would. You know what? I would love to. You know what? I would be. He's done a few interviews with independent media. So
okay.
You know, I think yeah. Well, who knows? If by chance Pierre Poilievre hears this, hey man, you got an open invitation to talk to the brothers.
Anytime, anywhere.
Anytime, okay? Now listen, we're not gonna go easy on you.
No.
Don't let the smile fool you.
No.
Okay?
Don't let the smooth taste fool you.
Hey man, we got some hard questions for your ass.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some time. Put in some real research. We're gonna grill you.
You know, I'm one bone I got to pick with Pierre Poilievre is, you know, why now? Why are you trying to be prime minister now? You sat behind with Aaron O'Toole and then Andrew Scheer. You know, these vanilla, fluffy, you know, light conservative. You just sat there and let them, like, come on, you know. And now you found your balls. Come on.
Now you found them. What?
Now you found them? Come on, man.
What was they before?
Right?
Did your wife give them back to you?
Okay. But you know what I'm saying? You know, it took the truckers to come down to Ottawa for you to, you know,
get that battery in your back. So you better not forget the people who put you on.
Right, like, you know. So, and I would another question I'd have to ask him is like, okay, what are you going to do to make sure that what happened to those truckers, you know, and how are you going to get to the bottom of all the lies that was told by the state-funded media? And I want accountability, because the CBC told some outright lies.
Yep. And what can you tell us to assure us that you ain't gonna flip and switch on us when you get into office?
Exactly. You know, hey, man. Because you say all about freedom. Well, I want the freedom to remove your ass if you step out of line. All right, man. I think
All right,
that's
brother. It's good
time, man.
talking to you, man.
Hey, man. That's an hour and a half, just like that, eh?
It's
Of
just like
course.
that.
Just
Time
like
flies
that.
when you're having fun, right?
So I was like in and out of cardio. So I think I did about 40 minutes. Yeah. All right, Devin.
All right, brother. Till
Peace.
next time, man.
Sir.
Everybody like, subscribe, hit the bell, tell your mama, daddy, mailman, milkman, pastor, everybody.
Subscribe right there.
Peace,
Peace.
Jerry. All right, y'all. That's another episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It's my second live. We just gonna keep continuing trying to get better and better. Shout out to my boy Jerry, always being game, always being on point. And have a good one, y'all. Peace. Peace. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, tell everybody. Bye. Oh, Doug, Pierre Poulet, holla at your boys.